Good morning. My name is Gregory Longini. I'm the board secretary to the Chicago Transit Board. On August the 4th of this year, the Office of the Secretary issued a notice of change format of authority, committee, and board meetings. Good morning. Today, August. My name is Gregory Longini. One, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, on July 23rd, 2021, Governor J.B. Pritzker renewed for a period of 30 days the statewide disaster declaration as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. Pursuant to Section 7E of the Open Meetings Act, the head of the Chicago Transit Authority has determined that it is not practical or prudent to conduct an in-person meeting in light of the ongoing disaster. This means that as permitted by the section of the Open Meetings Act, there will not be any in-person public meetings today, and the Chicago Transit Authority public meetings on August 11th, 2021 will take place only virtually. Because the governor's disaster proclamation remains in effect in the state of Illinois, the meetings on August 11th, 2021 are being held electronically or virtually pursuant to the amended provision of the Open Meetings Act, Section 7E, which allows for virtual public meetings while the disaster proclamation remains in effect. And let the record show that General Counsel Karen Simons, President Dorval Carter, and myself are all in the building today at 567 West Lake Street. So with that, Chairman Silva, we may begin on the Finance Committee meeting of the board.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'd like to call to order the August 11, 2021 meeting of the Committee on Finance, Audit, and Budget. Will the Secretary call the roll?
Yes. Director Barkley.
Here.
Director Jakes.
Here.
Director Stein.
Here.
Director Miller.
Here.
Director Alvaro Rosales.
Here.
Chairman Silva.
Here.
The committee has a quorum of 6 members. Let the record show that General Counsel Simons and President Carter are also attending this meeting. And then move to number 2, sir.
Our first order of business is the approval of the committee minutes of July 14, 2021. May I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
You second that, Director Miller?
Yes, I did.
Okay, so now we're gonna have a second. So let's take a vote on the minutes. Director Barkley.
Yes.
Director Jakes.
Yes.
Director Irvine.
Yes.
Director Miller.
Yes.
Director Alvaro Rosales.
Yes.
Chairman Silva.
Yes.
That motion to approve the minutes is approved with 6 yes votes, sir.
Our next order of business is the financial report. Jeremy Fine.
Good morning. I'm Jeremy Fine, your Chief Financial Officer, and I'll be reviewing the results for June as well as year-to-date numbers. We continue to see good progress on both our revenues, expenses, and public funding, and we'll walk through those here. With regard to our fare and pass totals, we see fare and pass totals for the month versus the amended budget flat to the budget and positive by about $700,000 to the original budget. The reduced fare subsidy continues to come in as expected. However, that is less than what we have previously received, which was $28 million a year, whereas now it's 14. Both numbers are below the historic number of free and reduced fare rides that we give out, though. Non-fare box totals continue to come in slightly below budgeted expectations. On an amended budget basis, down about $700,000. An original budget basis, down about $1.8 million. So overall, for the month of June, we see total revenues down to the amended budget by about $700,000 and a little over $1 million for the original budget. On a year-to-date basis, we see on the next page, we see fare and pass totals on an amended budget basis down about $1 million, but up positive to budget on an original budget basis by over $17 million. Reduced fare subsidy, again, continues to come in as expected throughout the year. And non-fare box totals are down about $2.5 million, $2.3 million on an amended budget basis, and about $12.5 million on an original budget basis, which leaves us on a year-to-date basis, total revenues essentially at budget, slightly below on an amended budget basis by $3.3 million, and slightly positive by about $4.6 million on an original budget basis. With regard to our expenses, we continue to see very good positive variance here across the lines. Labor is positive by about $1.5 million. Materials is essentially flat, slightly down due to some timing. Fuel and power have been very strong performers for us over the past several years and continue to be a very strong performer for us this month and throughout the year. Injuries and damages and security services coming in flat or slightly positive. And then other expenses coming in very favorable, about $3.5 million or 3.2, depending on amended budget, original budget basis. So that leaves us for the month of June on expenses positive a little over $6 million on an amended budget basis, or an original budget basis a little under $6 million. When you couple that with our revenues, June, we have a positive variance net of $5.4 million on an amended budget basis and $4.7 million on an original budget basis. On the next page, we see the year-to-date numbers. Again, dropping to the bottom line here, we see total amended budget positive variance of over $21 million and almost $33 million on an original budget basis. Again, coupled with our revenues, we see an amended budget net positive variance of $17.8 million and $37.6 million on an original budget basis. So again, very good progress throughout the year on our system generated revenues and expenses to where we're seeing some significant positive budget variance on a net basis so far, kind of halfway through the year here with regard to our reporting. With regard to public funding, we've also seen a continued progress in the results on public funding. We see a very good month here where we see sales tax up about $15 million to budget. We see public transportation funds almost $10 million positive, RET $5 million, and then PTF on RET and ICE funding over $1 million or over $500,000 combined, which leaves us about $30 million to the positive for the month on an amended budget and original budget basis. On the next page, you see the year-to-date numbers. And again, that $30 million adds to the aggregate here. So we see over $81 million of positive variance on an amended budget basis and over $90 million on an original budget basis. And again, this is critical for us to be able to extend the life of the critical federal stimulus funding that we have received, which we'll talk about here on the next page. The CARES Act draws, you may recall from prior conversations that we had thought that potentially we would exhaust the CARES funding by now. Based on the overperformance of our budgeted expectations, both on system generated revenues and expenses, as well as public funding, but particularly public funding, we're seeing smaller draws than we had estimated. So for instance, here for the month of June, we're drawing about $27 million versus the $50 million or so that we were drawing in prior months. This leaves us about $80 million of CARES funding to be drawn in future months. So again, about 10% of our total allocation of CARES, which was the first allocation of federal stimulus funds that we received. We have about 10% of that left. Once we exhaust that, we will have CRISA funding. That was the second tranche of federal stimulus funds that we received, available, of which we received $361 million. In the conversation with RTA and the other service boards with regard to the allocation of ARPA funding should be starting up here soon, and we'll continue to report to the board on the progress of those discussions. But again, Because of the outperformance, particularly of public funding, as well as the sustained controls on expenses and revenues coming in approximately where we expected, we have seen the ability to extend the CARES funds a little bit longer than expected. So that's very good news. Because again, we'll be needing those funds in future months, but again, extending those out as long as we can is very helpful. On the next page, we talk about the three commodities that we purchased: fuel, power, and natural gas. We see us in the final throes of finalizing a best and final offer RFP process for fuel for future month purchases there. And we'll continue to update the board as to the progress of that. But for power and natural gas, we're effectively locked in where we need to be for the coming years. But we'll again look for opportunistic buy opportunities across the board on all three commodities. But again, we're in very good position for right now. That concludes my formal remarks. Glad to answer any questions regarding the results for June or year-to-date numbers.
Yes. What will be our participation in the infrastructure bill?
So the infrastructure bill that just passed through the Senate yesterday will go to the House. Those allocations, there's kind of two tranches of funding. One that will flow through the formula allocations, of which we receive, historically about 58% of those allocations, based on recent renegotiation of larger allocations. We'll receive, approximately that, a little bit better than that, of the formula allocations. There's also a pot of discretionary funds that we'll be competing for as well. So we're very excited about the additional allocation of formula funds, of which we'll receive about $100 million a year more over the 5-year period, based on those allocation percentages, as well as the opportunity to compete for some of the discretionary funds that will be available as well.
Thank you.
Director Silva, let me add a little bit to what Jeremy just said. This is a very good bill for CTA if it gets implemented. And not only do I believe that, as Jeremy pointed out, that we're going to see a substantial boost in the formula funding that we receive, subject to the allocation process that RTA will still have to determine. I also believe that the discretionary programs are going to be very robust in terms of opportunities for CTA. And I think that we're well positioned to take advantage of those discretionary programs with a lot of the projects that we want to pursue over the course of the next several years. And so, if these numbers hold up and if the politics work out well in DC, I think that I will start to make a very busy period for my infrastructure team as we are able to start moving forward a lot of projects that we currently don't have the funding for. I also think that there's a corresponding conversation that has yet to occur around the non-federal match for all these funds. And while we're fortunate to have a good state capital program in place right now with a PAYGO funding that allows us to have some consistency going forward, there may be opportunities to pursue a whole lot more where we're going to have to identify funding sources to support that. And Jeremy and I have already started having conversations about what we may have to do in terms of our own capacity if we need to identify additional funding to make sure we maximize and capture all the federal funds that are on the table. It is certainly my goal to go after and capture as much of the federal funding as is available to support our ongoing needs to get to a state of good repair. So stay tuned. I'm very excited about it. I think there's going to be a lot more good news coming out of this process.
Thank you, President.
Very much.
Director Barkley, any questions?
No questions at this time, Mayor.
Director Jakes.
No questions. Thank you.
Director Irvine.
No questions. Thanks.
Director Miller.
No question. Good job.
Director Alvarez-Rosales.
Just a question with regards to
President Carter, your comments regarding matching funds, do we know about what percentage that would be?
Yeah, historically, for most of these programs, there's a 20% match that we have to provide in order to get 8% of the funding for a project. There are some variables to that in certain situations, but for the most part, we're looking for about 20%. So if we're getting $100 million worth of formula money more a year, then that's another $20 million worth of non-federal funding we have to find to match that. And there are a number of ways that we can do that, including offsetting other expenses that qualify for non-federal match and things like that. And Jeremy and his team are really very familiar with this process. I think historically, particularly because of the fact that we haven't had a reliable state program over many years, we've gotten very good at being innovative in our ways of finding funds to support the federal program. And I don't have any question that we won't be able to do the same thing this time around. I also should point out one other thing that I didn't mention that I'm very excited about with regards to the federal program. And Director Irvine, this I think is near and dear to your heart, which is there's a new funding program for accessibility that we worked on with Senator Duckworth, and that would support our ASAP plan as we go forward. And that basically could put me in a position to accelerate the timeline for a lot of the accessibility work that we need to do for our stations that still have to be made accessible. And I'm very excited about our ability to pursue those funds, which are discretionary as we go forward, because I think we're well positioned with a defined plan and need that allows us to move quickly and take advantage of that.
Yeah, you're right, President Carter. I am very excited about that, and I appreciate all of your leadership on this and your team, and it's putting us in a great position to tap those funds and make even more stations accessible. So thank you for highlighting that.
Okay, thank you. Chairman Silver, we are finished with questions on this item, so we may proceed to agenda item number 4.
Our next order of business is the review of an ordinance authorizing free rides on the first day of school for Chicago Public Schools in 2021 and 2022. Jeremy.
Thank you. Again, I'm Jeremy Fine, your Chief Financial Officer. Today, I present for your consideration an ordinance authorizing free fares for all school-age children and the adults accompanying them on the first day of school in 2021 and 2022. This will be effective on the first day of school for 2021, which is currently scheduled for August 30th, 2021, and on the date to be determined later for the start of the 2022 school year. Free rides will be given between 5 a.m. and 8:30 p.m., which are the normal hours that student reduced fares are valid on CTA. CTA has provided this program since 2011, although there was no program in 2020 due to the pandemic. The program supports Chicago Public Schools' efforts to boost attendance on the first day of school and set the tone for the upcoming school year. For the first day of school in 2021, CTA has partnered with Butcher Boy Cooking Oils, a Chicagoland woman-owned business, to serve as a sponsor to offset a portion of the cost of the free rides. This ordinance also authorizes the president to accept a sponsorship for the 2022 program. I'm glad to answer any questions that you may have.
Do we have a number of bidders, that bid for this ordinance?
So we actively solicit sponsorships for this program as well as other programs. In the past, it's been a little hit or miss on whether or not we're able to secure a sponsor for the program based on, what kind of, marketing dollars that firms have and things like that. In the past, when the program first started, Sun Times and others were sponsors. We've had most recently Under Armour as a sponsor prior to the pandemic. But we're very excited, enthusiastically excited about having Butcher Boy Cooking Oils as a sponsor for the program this year. Obviously, we're still kind of in the throes of a pandemic, and with limited marketing dollars in general out there. So the fact that we were able to secure a sponsor speaks well of the program, speaks well of the opportunity that Butcher Boy saw with CTA and with CPS in this case. So we're very excited to have them on board. Because frankly, in the current environment, there's not a lot of marketing dollars for these types of sponsorships. So it was a really big pickup for CTA to land this.
Good job. Keep it up.
Thank you.
Director Barkley?
No questions. Thank you.
Director Jakes?
No questions. Thank you, Jeremy.
Director Irvine?
No questions. Thanks. Good work.
Director Miller?
No question. Good job. Thanks.
Director Alvarez-Rosales?
No questions, just good job.
Thank you all. Chairman Silva, there are no further questions.
Our next order of business is,
Chairman, we need to get this on the omnibus.
since there are no further questions, may I have leave to place this item on the omnibus for board approval?
Moved.
I'll second.
Moved by Director Irvine, seconded by Director Alvarez-Rosales. So we may now go to number 5, Chairman.
Our next order of business is the review of an ordinance authorizing an intergovernmental agreement with Cook County for Sheriff's Work Alternative Program SWAP crews to provide groundkeeping and maintenance work on authority property. Don Bonds.
Good morning. My name is Donald Bonds. I'm the Chief Transit Officer here at CTA. Staff is recommending the authorization to renew a intergovernmental agreement with Cook County for participants in the Sheriff's Work Alternative Program to provide groundkeeping and maintenance work on CTA property. This ordinance would authorize a renewal of the IGA with Cook County for work crews of Cook County jail inmates who have been sentenced to provide groundkeeping and maintenance work such as litter removal on CTA property on the Sheriff's Work Alternative Program SWAP. The SWAP crews have been performing these duties for CTA since 1994. In 2017, CTA and the Sheriff entered into a current agreement for a term of 3 years with 2 option years. The first option year is set to expire on December 31st, 2021. And the county wishes to enter into a new agreement. SWAP has been suspended per Cook County Circuit Clerk General Administration Order 2020 to 2021 due to COVID-19 pandemic. When the Circuit Court and Sheriff resume SWAP program, the Sheriff will provide CTA with SWAP work crews per this agreement. The term of the new agreement is 2 years from September 1st, 2021 through August 31st, 2023, but permits either party to terminate the agreement upon 30 days after 6 months. Also, the Sheriff provides SWAP work crews to the CTA for free. However, the CTA reimburses the Sheriff for its costs for administering the SWAP program, such as the cost for providing deputies to guard the SWAP offenders and the cost of transport. Those costs may exceed $450,000 per year. The SWAP crews, they work at no more than 4 locations each week. They arrive at their location at 8:20 a.m. and leave at 2:30 p.m. and provide indoor work if the weather makes outdoor impossible for them to work. So this program has been around for quite a while for CTA, and it's been a great thing for us to use to help keep our properties clean throughout the CTA. So I'm happy to answer any questions at this time.
No questions.
Director Barkley?
No questions.
Director Jakes?
No questions, just commendations. Thank you so much for that, Donald. That warms my heart. Thank you.
Thank you.
Director Irvine?
No questions, but yeah, again, I second Director Jakes. Great program. Thank you.
Director Miller?
No question. Keep up the good work. Thanks.
Thank you.
Director Alvarez-Rosales?
No questions, but something that is just very important, very needed. So thanks, for your hard work on that.
Thank you.
That finishes the questions, Chairman Silva.
If there are no further questions, may I have leave to place this item on the omnibus for approval?
So moved.
I'll second.
Moved by Director Irvine and seconded by Director Alvarez-Rosales. Time for number 6, Chairman Silva.
The next order of business is the review of an ordinance authorizing an amendment to an intergovernmental agreement with PACE for the South Holsted Bus Corridor Enhancement Project. Mike Connolly.
Good morning. I'm Mike Connolly, your Chief Planning Officer. Before you today is an ordinance to amend the intergovernmental agreement between CTA and PACE to complete the National Environmental Protection Act work and the advanced conceptual design phase for the South Halsted Bus Enhancement Project. We've been working through the advanced conceptual design for these bus improvements on this South Halsted corridor. At this time, we have a need to revise the recommended roadway improvement option to a concept that is feasible from a traffic standpoint and is acceptable from a community and placemaking perspective. To accomplish this, additional analysis and design work is needed to help the team arrive at a new preferred alternative for this corridor and to allow PACE and CTA to advance the project to the next phases of design and ultimately to construction. Under the amended IGA, CTA will contribute an additional $100,000 and PACE is contributing an additional $168,000. The South Halsted corridor is 11 miles from the PACE Transportation Center in Harvey and serves both the 95th Street and 79th Street Red Line stations. This corridor carried 11,000 riders daily during pre-pandemic times, and these routes have retained a higher percentage of ridership than our system average. PACE Route 352, which operates on this corridor, is PACE's highest ridership route. Funding is available for this amendment to the IGA to support bus improvements on this vital far south side bus corridor. I'll be glad to answer any questions that you might have.
Okay, I don't have any questions.
Director Barkley?
I don't have any questions, but I do have a comment. I think this is a significant project because this is the gateway for a lot of CTA riders to get to the southern suburbs straight up Halsted Street. There's really no other public transportation thoroughfare that will take you to Markham and Harvey and places like that. So I'm glad that we're working with PACE to get this done. The sooner the better, and I'm glad that we're partnering with it.
Thank you. Chairman, Director Jakes?
No questions.
Director Irvine?
No questions.
Director Miller?
No questions.
Director Alvarez-Rosales?
No questions.
That concludes the questions, Chairman Silver.
If there are no further questions, may I have listed this item on the omnibus for approval?
So moved.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded by Directors Irvine and Alvarez-Rosales. We may proceed to number 7, sir.
Our next order of business is the review of an ordinance authorizing an agreement with City Year, Inc. for volunteer service activities. Sam Smith.
Good morning. I am Sam Smith, your Vice President of Government and Community Relations. Staff is recommending an agreement with City Year, Inc., whereby CTA provides fair media for up to 190 City Year members each program year for the next 2 years. City Year, Inc., in return, would provide volunteer time to CTA. City Year is a national youth service organization that works with young adults ages 17 to 24 and provides 1 year of full-time community service, leadership development, and civic engagement. This is a public-private partnership supported by the AmeriCorps National Service Network. Per the agreement, City Year will provide 8,032 hours of total volunteer time each program year for various CTA projects and needs, including assisting with field activities, such as posting flyers and handing out brochures at bus stops and rail stations, notifying customers of service changes, and providing volunteer support for various CTA community outreach events. CTA, in return, will provide each City Year member with an unlimited riding pass that will expire at the end of each applicable program year. The new agreement authorizes up to 190 passes each program year. The total value of all the passes is currently estimated at $200,000 per year, the same level as the last 2 agreements. CTA has been in partnership with City Year since 1999. The value of the members' volunteer work is expected to equal or exceed the value of the passes. CTA's current agreement with City Year expired on June 15, 2021. If approved, the new agreement for the 2021 to 2022 and 2022 to 2023 program years will run until June 15th, 2023. I have to answer any questions you may have.
I don't have a question.
Director Barkley?
No questions.
Director Jakes?
No questions. Thank you.
Director Irvine?
Questions?
No. Director Miller?
No questions.
Director Rosales?
No questions.
That concludes questions, Chairman Silva.
Since there are no further questions, I will need to place this item of the omnibus for approval.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and second by Directors Irvine and Rosales. That concludes the ordinances, sir. We move to the contracts. A1 is first.
Our next order of business is contract number A1, an equipment maintenance contract.
Questions, Chairman?
I don't have any question. No question.
Okay. All right. Director Barkley?
No questions.
Director Jakes?
No questions.
Director Irvine?
No questions.
Director Miller?
No questions.
Director Rosales?
No question.
No questions, sir. We may proceed to B as in boy 1.
The next order of business is contract number B1, a change order to a delivery service contract. No question.
Director Barkley?
No questions.
Director Jakes?
No questions.
Director Irvine?
Questions?
Director Miller?
No questions.
Director Rosales?
No questions.
Okay, we may proceed, Chairman, to contract number D, dog 1.
Our next order of business is contract number D1, a planning services contract. No questions.
Director Barkley?
No questions at this time.
Director Jakes?
No question.
Director Irvine?
No questions.
Director Miller?
No questions.
Director Rosales?
No questions.
All right, we may proceed to F1.
Our next order of business is contract number F1, a change order for program administration. No questions.
Director Barkley?
No questions.
Director Jakes?
No questions.
Director Irvine?
No questions.
Director Miller?
No questions.
Director Rosales?
No questions.
All right, we can move to F2.
Our next order of business is contract number F2, an RFP for insurance contract. No questions.
Director Barkley?
Questions.
Director Jakes?
No questions.
Director Irvine?
Questions?
Director Miller?
No questions.
Director Rosales?
No questions.
And we can now proceed to G as in girl 1.
Our next order of business is contract number G1, a change order for technology support. No questions.
Director Barkley?
No questions.
Director Jakes?
No questions.
Director Irvine?
No questions.
Director Miller?
No questions.
Director Rosales?
No questions.
All right, there's no questions, Chairman Silver, so we may need to remove this contract from the omnibus, and so we will need to vote on this now.
Yes.
So we need a motion to recommend board approval of contract number G1.
Our next,
Let's get this motion done here first, sir. So
yes, I will entertain a motion to recommend board approval of contract number G1.
correct.
So moved.
Director Rosales, you probably should second this. So
That's what I was just about to say. Yes.
Can I have a second from somebody else, please?
Go move. Second, rather. Second.
Okay, Director. So on this motion for G1, moved by Director Irvine, seconded by Director Miller, I'll now take the vote. Director Barkley,
Yes.
Director Jakes,
Yes.
Director Irvine,
Yes.
Director Miller,
Yes.
Director Rosales.
I will abstain.
Okay, Chairman Silva.
Good.
Yes, okay, so on G1, we took a vote. It's approved with 5 yes votes, and Director Rosales abstained. We may now move to G as in girl 2.
Our next order of business is contract number G2, a contract for high volume printers. No questions.
Director Barkley,
No questions.
Director Jakes,
No questions.
Director Irvine,
No questions.
Director Miller,
No questions.
Director Alvarado Rosales,
No questions.
Chairman Silva.
No questions.
All right, we may move to G3.
Our next order of business is contract number G3, a change order for an Oracle service contract. No questions.
Question, Chairman Silva?
No questions.
All right, Director Barkley,
No questions.
Director Jakes,
No questions.
Director Irvine,
Questions.
Director Miller,
No questions.
Director Alvarado Rosales.
No questions.
All right, we can move to J1.
Our final order of business today is contract number J1, an amendment to an engineering contract. No questions.
Director Barkley,
No questions.
Director Jakes,
No questions.
Director Irvine,
No questions.
Director Miller,
No questions.
Director Alvarado Rosales.
No questions.
All right, Chairman, we may proceed to 8A.
There are no further questions in the contract. May I have leave to place 8 contracts that the committee review on the omnibus?
So moved.
I'll second.
That's been moved by Director Irvine, seconded by Director Alvarado Rosales. And that includes, those are the contracts, all the contracts except G1. We may now proceed to 8B.
Since there is no further business to come before the committee, may I have a motion to approve the omnibus and recommend the omnibus for board approval?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded by Directors Irvine and Alvarado Rosales. I'll take a roll call vote. Director Barkley,
Yes.
Director Jakes,
Yes.
Director Irvine,
Yes.
Director Miller,
Yes.
Director Alvarado Rosales,
Yes.
Chairman Silva.
Yes.
That motion to approve the omnibus is approved with 6 yes votes. We go to number 9.
And finally, may I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded by Directors Irvine and Alvarado Rosales. I'll take a vote. Director Barkley,
Yes.
Director Jakes,
Yes.
Director Irvine,
Yes.
Director Miller,
Yes.
Director Alvarado Rosales,
Yes.
Chairman Silva.
Yes.
The motion to adjourn is approved with 6 yes votes, and we'll be back with the full board meeting in about approximately 5 minutes. Thank you. asking me to read them into the meeting today. I will start with correspondence I received yesterday from Aquino Gottleicher of Chicago. The subject matter is an inquiry regarding L train service reliability requested to be presented at the August 11th board meeting. Ladies and gentlemen of the board, millions of Chicagoans rely on the CTA for their transit needs, and many of us love the L system in our city. However, in the past months, riding the train has become unreliable and often frustrating. I live by the California station on the Blue Line, and the trains just come way less often than the posted schedule shows. For example, on Saturdays, trains are promised every 6 minutes. However, headways of 20 or 30 minutes are the norm in recent months. During night service, the Blue Line often seems to have as few as 5 trains operating on the whole line. Given the minimum round trip time of 150 minutes, that gives us at least 30 minute headways compared to scheduled 15 minutes. The situation is equally dire on other train lines as well. During the last weekend of July 2021, the Lollapalooza Festival was happening in downtown Chicago, and the CTA published an announcement promising, quote, increased service on the L system. However, on Sunday afternoon, Blue Line trains were running at 20 to 30 minute headways, in contrast to the regularly scheduled 6 to 10 minute headways. Why should the CTA announce increased service when they weren't even able to keep baseline scheduled service? I understand that the CTA has recently faced unprecedented staffing issues, and it's difficult to dispatch all of the scheduled trains. However, it's fair to say that the CTA has not been honest and transparent with its customers by keeping the outdated train schedules posted. The outdated train schedules are then reflected in train tracker apps, Ventra or others, which end up showing scheduled trains instead of live track trains, but these scheduled trains then do not arrive. In closing, let me ask 2 questions. First, when can passengers expect to see train tracker and schedule updates that reflect real level of service? Second, what is the CTA doing to improve staffing on the L system in order to be able to reliably dispatch trains? We are facing tough and unprecedented times, but please inform your customers better about what level of service they can expect. Thank you for your consideration, and Chairman Barkley, I will forward this request to management to respond to. And then the second written comments are from John Paul Jones of the Greater Englewood Sustainable Initiatives. Good morning. Chicago Transit Authority Chairman Lester Barkley, Vice Chairman Arabelle Alva-Rosales, and fellow board members, and Director of Operations Dorval R. Carter, and fellow CTA staff. First, Grow Greater Englewood and Sustainable Englewood Initiatives wish to send our collective prayers and condolences to the Chicago Police Department and its loss of fellow Officer E. French and hospitalized Officer Carlos. This senseless crime against local patrol officers both hurts and embarrasses our community in its quest for peaceful living. We support the public's call for complete justice. Today, we submit our collective support for the organization's City Year Ordinance to provide volunteer landscaping service along transit stops and adjacent areas. For several years, CTA has welcomed the agency assistance in greening transit corridors and improving vacant lots. This activity has contributed greatly to the transit-oriented development efforts throughout Chicago. Clean environments bring added public safety to key intersections and demonstrates a sense of care from Chicago transit agencies. Furthermore, we appreciate today's ordinance to provide free student fares for the first day of school. Indeed, it is good for the agency and its corporate sponsor to add value to the public's desire to get children safely to the classroom. We applaud you for this annual commitment. To this end, we thank the CTA board and staff for its continual zeal to improve service to the Southwest region, the Englewood Green Line, and Far South region, both the South Halstead Bus Intergovernmental Agreement and the Red Line Extension. Our organization thanks you for your civic leadership, signed again by John Paul Jones, President and Founder. And that, Chairman Barkley, concludes today's public comment section of today's meeting.
Thank you. Our next order of business is the approval of the minutes. I will now entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the regular board meeting of July 14, 2021.
So moved.
Second.
That motion has been moved by Director Irvine, seconded by Director Alvarez Rosales. Director Alvarez Rosales.
Yes.
Director Jakes.
Yes.
Director Irvine.
Yes.
Director Miller. Director Miller, I think you're muted. Director Miller, do you approve the minutes?
Can you hear me? Yes.
Yeah, you approve the minutes. Okay, great. Director Silva. Director Silva, are you still muted? Director Silva?
Yes.
Okay, you approve.
Yes.
Got it. Thank you. Thank you. And Chairman Barclay.
Yes.
All right, well, that's good. The minutes are approved with 6 yes votes, sir.
Our next order of business is the President's report. President Carter.
Thank you, Chairman. As most of you know, the CTA received some very nice recognition last month. The American Public Transportation Association, which represents transit agencies all across North America, awarded the CTA its highest honor, the 2021 Outstanding Public Transportation System among those providing 20 million or more trips. APTA is our nation's leading public transit organization. In fact, more than 90% of public transit trips in North America are provided by APTA members. A committee of leading transit professionals judge agencies on criteria in a wide range of key areas on which we focus daily. They include operations, maintenance, safety, accessibility, workforce development, diversity, inclusion, and equity, financial management, customer service, marketing, community relations, and sustainability. CTA was also recognized for all of our efforts since March of 2020 to address the unprecedented challenges of the pandemic. Among CTA's many accomplishments, APTA specifically praised our extensive and sustained efforts to continue to run a full scheduled service, noting that CTA was one of the only U.S. transit agencies to achieve that. And I can tell you that it was gratifying to know that among a field of many excellent large transit agencies, a jury of our peers determined CTA was the best of the best. It was also quite humbling that APTA also recognized me with the Outstanding Public Transportation Manager Award. It was quite an honor to receive the award on behalf of this agency, but my journey at CTA has never been about individual accolades. My focus has always been on building a team to help me implement a strong vision for the future and confront challenges head on, and staying focused on our customers first and foremost. The APTA Awards notable first are contained for both APTA and the CTA. In the nearly 40 years APTA has been giving out awards, this was the first time that one agency won both of its top awards in the same year. And it also marks the first time that CTA has ever earned either of these two top awards. By far the most rewarding thing about this award, however, is that it reflects the hard work, dedication, and professionalism of nearly 11,000 people who work for this agency. You see some of them here. The agency's award is an industry shout out to the men and women of CTA. They courageously and painstakingly met an unprecedented challenge over the last 17 months, and they continue to do so, ensuring a safe, convenient, and dependable commute as possible for our essential workers and Chicagoans who are making essential trips to jobs, schools, doctors, offices, or grocery stores. Every single day, these men and women you see here and thousands more come to work at bus terminals, rail yards, maintenance shops, training rooms, and even here at 567 West Lake, with the goal of providing the best service possible for our customers. As you may have noticed, sometimes we don't meet that goal. And certainly our public commenter today pointed out an example of that. But given the reality of what it takes to operate a bus and train service 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, I don't have any doubt about the commitment of our team to move forward and provide the best service we can possibly every day, in spite of the challenges that we may face. But the award is also a recognition of the work this board has done. You have paved the way for our important investments in infrastructure and technology and made possible so many of our modernization efforts. Not even a global health crisis could slow the CTA team as we continue to use our new architecturally striking 95th Street Red Line terminal as a catalyst for economic development on the north south side, while continuing to modernize the red and purple rail lines and stations on the north side. Or how we unveiled and began testing the next generation series of comfortable, efficient, and environmentally friendly trains and buses. Or how we launched an easy contactless venture fare payment option, the Venture Card on Google Pay, to provide another convenience for our customers. And you've also helped shepherd important policies and programs that benefit our customers and communities, everything from our workforce development initiatives to our efforts to improve accessibility. The announcement of CTA's awards has generated a good bit of attention from media of all sizes across our regions, as well as on social media, including a very nice tweet from Mayor Lightfoot, which you can see in the lower left of the screen. We're working to make sure that community media outlets and organizations, as well as local elected officials, are all aware of this achievement by our hardworking employees. Again, the most rewarding aspect of this prestigious recognition is that it is our award, our agency, and our city. And that's not because of me or any one individual. It is because of the level of excellence reached by an incredible CTA team of talented professionals. Neither of these awards would be possible without everyone looking to do things better for our customers in our city. We strive to be an industry leader, and these awards acknowledge that we are. But that recognition brings a responsibility. We have and we will continue to push ourselves to be an example of what teamwork, vision, and mission can achieve. We will continue to offer the best possible public transit experience for every rider who uses our system. And we will take steps when necessary to correct the mistakes that we make. And we will continue to move our city and our region forward today and tomorrow and long after this pandemic is over. Thank you, and thank you to the entire CTA family for their hard work and commitment to make this award possible. And I'm happy to take any questions that you may have.
Thank you, President Carter, for a wonderful presentation. Congratulations to you and to the entire CTA staff from the board. Before we take any questions, I just would like for Greg to read a resolution from the board of directors into the record at this time. Thank you.
Yes. Resolution of appreciation for the dedicated employees of the Chicago Transit Authority and President Dorval R. Carter, Jr. Whereas the American Public Transportation Association, APTA, has awarded the Chicago Transit Authority its highest honors in the North American public transit industry, and whereas these awards consist of the Outstanding Public Transportation System and the Outstanding Public Transportation Manager, President Dorval R. Carter, Jr., and whereas APTA represents 1,500 public and private sector organizations in the U.S. and Canada, and whereas the APTA Outstanding Public Transportation System Award recognizes the service provided by the CTA and its employees during the COVID-19 pandemic in providing critical service to essential workers, including healthcare workers, and whereas the System Award recognizes the authority during the COVID-19 pandemic for providing full service scheduling, keeping its buses and trains running with adequate social distance to protect the health of its riders. And whereas the System Award also recognizes the authority's innovative efforts and achievement in the areas of operations, modernization, safety, accessibility, workforce development, diversity, and equity, as well as others. And whereas the APTA Outstanding Public Transportation Manager Award recognizes the leadership and career accomplishments of President Carter, whose 30-year career at the authority has overseen the transformation of legacy of a legacy system into a model 21st century system. And whereas the Manager Award also recognizes President Carter's leadership in putting customers first while leading the unprecedented modernization of the authority's rail system, stations, vehicles, and technologies. And whereas the award recognizes the hard work and accomplishment of the thousands of CTA employees and contractors who manage and operate a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week operation. And whereas that for the first time in APTA history, one agency has received the top awards for outstanding system and management in the same year. Therefore, be it resolved, the Chicago Transit Board congratulates and thanks the thousands of CTA 7-day-a-week and contractors who manage, oversee, and provide the service to millions of customers and who have made this prestigious award possible. Be it further resolved, the Chicago Transit Board congratulates President Dorval L. Carter Jr. for his outstanding leadership managing the agency during these recent unprecedented times. Be it further resolved, Chicago Transit Board thanks President Dorval R. Carter Jr. for his 30-plus years of transit service and to the CTA customers and service to the public transit industry. Thank you very much. That's Resolution R021, adopted by the board on this day, Chairman. To be adopted by the board on this day, Chairman.
Thank you, Greg. Dorval has a look of surprise on his face. I think we pulled one on him.
Yes, you did.
So just to add to that, this is where Zoom doesn't do us justice. We have a plaque. The Chicago Transit Board recognizes the Chicago Transit Authority, recipient of the 2021 APTA Outstanding Public Transportation System Award. Congratulations and many thanks to the dedicated employees for your exemplary service that has made this award possible. Presented August 11, 2021 from the board. In addition to that, we have a second plaque. Chicago Transit Board recognizes President Dorval R. Carter Jr., recipient of the 2021 APTA Outstanding Public Transportation Manager Award for dedicated and outstanding leadership and service to the Chicago Transit Authority and the Chicago Public Transit Region, presented August 11, 2021. So, Dorval, we want to present these to you and to the entire staff for your recognition and the hard work that you guys do that sometimes doesn't always get recognized. One person told me it's a mighty poor duck that doesn't praise his own pond. And so for you and for those who work every day very, very hard for the citizens of Chicago, we appreciate you. We appreciate the work that your entire staff, all 11,000 employees, have done to earn this recognition. And we want to thank you for the hard work that you guys do, every single employee throughout the system who has worked so hard, especially during the pandemic period, to showcase that Chicago's transportation system is the best in the nation. Thank you very much. I'm going to invite other board members to make comments. Please do feel free to do so at this time.
Thank you, Chairman. Just want to say ditto to all that you've said and to say congratulations. And I'm just excited to be a part of this historic moment to have the CTA under President Carter and all the team that worked so hard together to receive both of the top award. And this is history making. And so we just say congratulations, keep up the good work, because any organization, any business that operates 24/7 is hard to with great competitors as we have around the country. Congratulations and thank you all very much.
Mr. Chairman and President Carter, when we received the email, I was overjoyed to learn of the awards that CTA had received, and especially for you, President Dorval Carter. And my mind immediately went to a quote by Dr. King, where he says that everyone can be great because everyone can serve. And when I think of CTA, I think of all of its employees, the 11,000 plus employees, and their ability to serve. And one of the things that Dr. King says in that, beyond that, is that you don't have to have a college degree to serve. You know, your subject and verb doesn't need to agree. All you need is a heart full of grace and a soul that's generated by love. And for the 3 years I've served on this board, that's all I've seen. That what makes CTA work is that there is a conglomerate of people who come from all walks of life, who really just love what they do. And you, President Carter, at the head of the bus, if I may just offer that, are worthy of that and leading us. And so congratulations to you. Congratulations to everyone that has a heart to serve. And I'm sure that this is not going to be the only time that both of these awards are earned with AFTA. So thank you so much for all you do and for the staff. Thank you very much.
Anyone else?
All right.
Chairman Silva is talking. Unmute yourself, Chairman. Director Silva.
Director Silva, you want to speak? You have to unmute. Good. Go right ahead, Director Silva.
Congratulations to President Carter and the entire CTA team for this incredible award. I'm proud to be a part of this board for over 14 years. And I admire, President Carter and have a good job and keep up the good work. And congratulations again. I'm really very, 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 very thank you.
Thank you, Director. Director Irvine, would you like to say a few words?
Yes, I would. President Carter, Chairman Barkley, one of the reasons I choose to live in Chicago is because it is one of the very few cities where you can live without a car, and public transit and CTA make that possible for the people that live here, that work here, that visit here. And when the pandemic hit, I was so moved by the dedication and commitment of everyone on the CTA team, from you, President Carter, all the way down to all the folks that work to make the buses and trains run to allow us to keep operating full service. Some thinking about all the CTA employees that made the last year and a half possible. Some of them didn't make it, and we lost some to COVID, and it was very, very tough. And it was hard, I think, for some of the folks that are out there. They were worried about their own safety, their families, and we continue to provide service, and the dedication of everyone made that possible. And so, just to get the award this year, I think shows that when you put all of your focus on providing the best service to the people that we serve and keeping the service strong, you'll get recognized for that. And I think that President Carter, your commitment to not just all of our customers, but also our disabled customers in pushing ASAP and pushing for more accessibility is bearing fruit in with the infrastructure bill and the inclusion of the additional funds for accessibility. So this award, I think, is overdue, a long time coming, but I'm very glad that we got it after the tremendous work and commitment of everyone at CTA over the last year and a half. So thank you. I know that you're not going to stop. I know that you've got a lot of plans to make CTA even greater. But I really applaud you and everyone below you for for this recognition. It's well deserved. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. Director Alvarez, would you like to say a few words?
Yes, of course. Well, congratulations. What exciting news when I saw the two awards really making history. President Carter, you're such a leader. And I've got to tell you, it's such an honor to be part of what I consider a family. everyone from the executive team to those on the front line, so committed to providing service. And during the most difficult period of time in the history that we've had, not only for the city, but really for the world, really stepping up and doing a phenomenal job, and not just doing the work that is expected, but going over and above. And it's so good to see that these 2 awards have recognized that work. So I know that this will continue. I'm glad that it's been recognized. So worthy. The whole team is so worthy of it. And President Carter, you especially are, again, as a leader, as our leader with the work that's being out there for the public. Thanks for your work. And again, all of the team that's out there, especially I wish and I hope that each of our frontline workers are notified of this, because we can't thank them enough for all the work that they do. So congratulations.
No, thank you all for your kind comments, and a couple of just quick thoughts here that I just wanted to pass along. One, CTA has a long history of achieving major accomplishments and then just moving on to the next challenge. We have never been really good at celebrating our successes, but I want to assure you that that will not be the case this time. I am working with our team. We are going to celebrate this with the entire CTA family. We're going to make sure that everyone in the field and also the people here at 567 get the opportunity to both appreciate and share in the celebration of all of their hard work, which has made this possible. The other thing that I wanted to mention to you is that, as an aside, there's a process that you have to go through, as I explained, to be considered for this kind of award. And it begins with the submission of a formal nomination to make it happen. Historically, that nomination comes from the head of the agency. In other words, I would be the one who submits CTA's name and opportunity to get this. But you should know that in this particular case, both the personal award that I received and the agency award that was submitted was done by the CTA employees without my knowledge. I wasn't aware that they had done this until I received a phone call from AFTA telling me that we had won. And I think to the point that all of you are making is that there is a tremendous sense of pride that I think all of our employees have around the work this agency does and around the accomplishments that we've made, especially over the last year as we've dealt with this pandemic. And I think the process by which we even got considered for this is an example of, I think, the commitment, the dedication, and the support that my entire team has for all the employees in this agency to make sure that they are recognized and understood for the hard work that they do, which, as all of you know, and as some of you mentioned, on many occasions goes completely unnoticed and unrecognized by the vast majority of our customers. So I am obviously very thankful and appreciative of the personal accolade, but I am actually much more happy for the accolade that has been given to the entire CTA team, and really want them to celebrate and enjoy this next year as we stand as the best transit system in the country.
Thank you. I would like to thank all of the board members for your warm comments and well wishes, and thank you once again, President Carter. I would now entertain a motion to approve a resolution of appreciation for President Dorval R. Carter and the entire dedicated employees of the Chicago Transit Authority.
It is my honor and pleasure to so move.
And it's my honor and pleasure to second it.
Moved by Director Irvine, seconded by Director Alvarez-Rosales. I'll take a vote. Director Miller. Yes. Yes. Okay. Director Jakes.
Yes.
Director Silva. Director Silva, could you unmute your... Director Silva, could you unmute
Yes.
Yes, of course. Director Irvine.
Yes.
Director Alvarez-Rosales.
Yes.
Chairman Barkley.
Yes.
Well, not surprisingly, that motion passes with 6 yes votes. To approve the resolution passes, sir.
Our next order of business is executive session. It's my understanding, Karen, there's no executive session today.
That's correct, Chairman. We do not have executive session today.
Since there are no board matters, our next order of business is a report of the Committee of Finance, Audit and Budget. Director Silva.
Yeah, the Committee on Finance, Audit and Budget met earlier this morning via Zoom video teleconference. The committee approved the July 14, 2021 committee minutes. The committee reviewed the finance report. The committee reviewed the following 4 ordinances. Ordinance authorizing free rides on the first day of school for Chicago Public Schools in 2021 and 2022. An ordinance authorizing an intergovernmental agreement with Cook County for Sheriff's Work Alternative Program SWAP crews to provide groundskeeping and maintenance work on authority property. An ordinance authorizing an amendment to an intergovernmental agreement with PACE for the South Holsted Bus Corridor Enhancement Project. An ordinance authorizing an agreement with City Year Inc. for volunteer service activities. The committee approved all 4 ordinances and all 9 contracts. The committee placed the 4 ordinances and 8 of the contracts on the omnibus and recommended board approval of the omnibus. Contract number G1, although approved by the committee, was not placed on the omnibus and will require a separate vote. That concludes my report, Chairman Barkley.
Thank you, Director Silva. May I now have a motion to approve the omnibus as stated by Director Silva?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Director Irvine, seconded by Director Alvarez-Rosales. I'll take the vote. Director Jakes.
Yes.
Director Irvine.
Yes.
Director Miller.
Yes.
Director Silva.
Yes.
Director Alvarez-Rosales.
Yes.
Director Barkley.
Yes.
That motion to approve the omnibus is approved with 6 yes votes, sir.
I will now entertain a motion to approve contract item G1, the Technology Support Service Contract.
So moved.
And we need a second from somebody else besides Arabelle.
Second.
Second by Director Jakes. All right, moved by Director Irvine, seconded by Director Jakes. On G1, I'll take the vote. Start with you, Director Alvarez-Rosales.
I'll abstain.
Abstain. Director Jakes.
Yes.
Director Irvine.
Yes.
Director Miller.
Yes.
Director Silva.
Yes.
Chairman Barkley.
Yes.
The motion to approve G1 passes with 5 yes votes, and Director Alvarez-Rosales abstained.
Our next order of business is the construction report. Bill Mooney.
Good morning. I'm here with your construction report as usual. If we can flip ahead to Herb, our first project where we normally start is our Jefferson Park and O'Hare Signals project. Since we last met, I had a pretty significant milestone, which is all the Relay House book of plans have been approved. This is actually the design packages that all the signal system, it's a design build project. So it's been designed as we've been working through the project. And so this kind of ends that design phase, which is kind of a huge milestone for us. The project remains on budget, but tight to schedule. We also have completed preparation for Old Mannheim Relay House cutover, which is our next relay house, which they'll be taking under shortly. And at this point, all the remaining signal houses are either in fabrication or out of fabrication and on the ground and ready to prep. So we're starting to wind into a full construction phase. Next slide, please. Here's some photos from the preparation at Old Mannheim. Here they are pulling some wiring for the localized equipment at the crossover itself. Next slide, please. And here they are they're pulling cable in the duct banks of the O'Hare tunnel. So Old Mannheim is actually controllable from O'Hare interlocking or O'Hare Tower back at the terminal. And so there's actually wires that connect the two to talk to each other. So here they are replacing those cables in the subway. Next slide, please. My next project is a Refreshed and Renewed program. Since we last met, work occurred at Western on the Congress and Cicero on the Pink Line. And we're kicking forward at Kedzie and Kimball and Western O'Hare in the upcoming weeks. Let's move to the pictures, please. Here's before and afters at the entrance at Cicero. They painted the ceiling, scraped and painted the ceiling, updated the lighting, updated the sign faces. It gives you kind of that first welcome, refreshed look as you walk into the station. New LED lighting, again, just kind of makes everything so much crisper. Next slide, please. Here's the platform. I think this is one of those wow factor pictures that you see when we get into this work. Oftentimes we only do kind of ladder height on the column, those touch surfaces, those regularly seen. Here they went all the way up. They scraped down the ceiling of the platform, which is a significant amount of effort there, recoated it. I mean, I really think that it's amazing, that difference, and that really just gives the station a whole new look again. Next slide. Here's Western on the Congress. So these stations on the Congress date back to the 1950s. They're very challenging pieces to maintain. These are the ramps that lead down from the station house to the platform. And you can see kind of here the pre-existing condition, how the patch has been patched a bunch of times and the patches were failing. Here they broke out some of the larger areas, recoated those patches. All this work is occurring as we have customers coming in and out of the station, as we're not closing the entrances of this. So the trades that work on this work really hard to kind of be able to work around folks and facilitate that station while this work's occurring. Next slide. Again, here's kind of a kind of wow factor on the canopy of this. So this is station platform. You can see they've scraped it down. They've put a fresh coat of paint on it, and what a reflective look that really makes for people, especially with the lighting. The paint and lighting together really changes that whole sense of safety in that station and the surroundings you're in. It's bright, it's inviting. So, next slide, please. And then here's my proverbial kind of new LED lighting. I mean, it's amazing how much brighter this is from across the highway and how the station just glows now. So this is our Jackson Park Track and Structure Improvement Project. So the work continues on the northbound track between 59th and 61st Street. I'm sorry, the southbound track between 59th and 61st Street with the tie renewal, as well as the structural associated work. We can move on to the slides, please. Here's almost all the ties are in at this point, as well as the supporting wood guard. The wood guard is the large piece of wood that kind of runs parallel to the direction of travel there. That's part of how we keep the train secured on the tracks as a safety feature. So that's all getting updated as part of this, and they're getting ready to do the rail renewal there as well. You can see that work in progress as it comes to the end in that section. It should be done shortly there. Next slide. And here's some of the structure work. So here they are doing kind of what we call busting. We stopped riveting in the late 1960s. And so as you can see the rivets here, what happens is they actually break the rivets out, shear the heads off and push them out of the holes. And then they rod out the holes to make sure they're clean. And then they'll put in fresh bolts in preparation for the steel change out. So that's what's going on here. My next project is our South Shops Waste Material Storage and Sewer Upgrade, which I introduced last month. We've kind of moved on into the wall from kind of that initial wall stabilization into some structural work within the ceiling of that ante space in relationship to the walls. We move towards the photos. The project progresses on budget, on schedule. Here you can see they're putting in additional supports to pick up the roof joists. So as the wall has shifted, the joists have kind of become destabilized for the roof. So we've put in a series of beams to pick up and tie those roof joists back into the wall. Move to the next photo, please. And here they're doing what they call sistering, where they're actually sandwiching the boards around those joists to reinforce them and provide a longer extension life for that roof. Next slide. And my last project today is a new project. So this is the Dan Ryan inverters and batteries. So on our signal systems, we actually do kind of the opposite of what we do in a substation. Is we take our 600 volt DC power from our substation feeds and convert it back to AC power to power our signal system. So our substation power is so incredibly redundant and rich. It's a really great source to give us reliable power for our signal system. And the way we do that is through a series of equipment called inverters. Over time, the inverters have aged on the Dan Ryan. It was our first generations of that technology, and it's started to become less reliable, which their signal performance. And so this project helps us upgrade this to new equipment, give us that continued power reliability, which is really important for our signal systems. So the first round of work has been occurring at 59th Interlocking, which is just north of 63rd Street Station on the Dan Ryan. Let's move on to the pictures. So you've seen some of this photos like this on the signal job as I've shown you work in preparation for those crossovers. So here they are actually removing the inverters and the associated for switches and disconnects and other things that help manage that power system. And on the slide on the left and here, and then on the slide on the right, they're putting in the new equipment and craning it in place from the highway. This work's actually going on under traffic. It's around kind of train movements during the weeknights. Next slide. Here's this new equipment kind of set up, and from there they wire it all up to each other, connect it to the relay house, and then we go into a commissioning phase similar to what we would do in a substation, test it, validate it, and then cut it over for live. It's a pretty quick moving project. We should be, it's been going on for over a year. The contractor is spent about the last year waiting for the equipment to show up. It's a long lead time manufactured part, and so the installation is actually pretty quick. Next slide, please. And here you can see some of that wiring I was discussing as they kind of wire that equipment up around the actual train traffic. And that ends my portion of the presentation. I'm glad to take any questions.
Thank you very much, Bill. Chairman Barkley, do you have any questions for Bill?
I do not have any questions, but I do have a comment that refresh and renew, it almost looks like a miracle difference between night and day. So you're doing a good job. And I appreciate that.
Thank you. The crews are really into it now. They really take a lot of pride in walking away from that work product. And I mean, it's really the credits to them. They're doing a great job. So,
thanks, Director Alvarez. Any questions?
No, just compliments. I guess I know we do that every month, but make sure to share that. I think with the team, because it does make such a huge difference. I think it's such a motivator for people to utilize our system even more. And it is a major difference. The before and after is pretty incredible. So thanks for the hard work.
Director Jakes?
Ditto to everything that's been said.
Thank you. Director Irvine?
No questions, just again, great job that you and the team. Thank you.
Director Miller?
Ditto to everything been said. No questions. Compliment. Keep up the good work.
Thank you. Director Silva?
No questions. Okay. Congratulations. Okay. Good job.
Thank you all. And thanks, Bill. There's no further questions, Chairman, for Bill.
We will now call on Chris Bushell and Juan Pablo Prieto to make their RPM and diversity presentations.
Thank you, Chairman. Chris Bushell, your Chief RPM Officer. The RPM project continues on budget and tight schedule. We can go to the next slide, please. One more. So while design is ongoing, and some aspects of it are wrapping up, some are continuing. The main thrust of the work at this point is really on the bypass, as well as on the Lawrence to Bryn Mawr segment. In regard to the bypass, we are continuing to do miscellaneous pieces of systems work on top of the bypass, predominantly track, but to follow with traction, power, and signal as well. But our focus at the moment is really on connecting the two ends of the bypass as the structural components of it really are coming together. And you'll see more details on that in the photographs. Those two areas are the Belmont slide-in, which you'll see some details on. That's a big piece of structure that we ultimately are building off to the side, then doing some demolition in the area of Belmont and literally sliding it over with the hydraulic system. You'll actually see some photographs of that hydraulic system in another piece of construction at the very end of the report. Similar kind of system in any case. We are also preparing in some ways for the work after the bypass by moving a building, a historic building. You'll see some photographs and a video of that towards the end. And then in the Lawrence to Bryn Mawr segment, as we've talked about, we're really continuing really in the depth of the heavy civil structural demolition start of that segment. So we're removing existing structure in various locations. we're installing sort of a protective structural, deep structural protection between the area where we're constructing earth retention system, between the area where we're constructing and running service. You'll see some more details on that. So the project is really in full swing. Lawrence Bryn Mawr has a significant construction area, and we're very pleased to see that progress. So if we could go to the next slide, and I can show some photographs. So this is a section of the bypass bridge that we're building off to the side. It's a pretty big piece. It ultimately gets actually completed off to the side. We have a laydown yard here that we can work in. So we're not impacting rail traffic directly by doing this. We're just building it off to the side. We will, as a final piece of work on the bypass, be demolishing some of the existing CTA on the, you can see on the side of the photograph there, that sound wall is part of the right of way right near the Belmont station, and then sliding that structure right over using a hydraulic bridge system. So pretty interesting there. Next picture. You get a feel, I think, for how the bypass is coming together and what it's really going to look like. We took a lot of care to make sure that this was an attractive piece of work for the community. We tried to design some columns that softened a little bit some of the size of the columns and broke down the visual aspect of that, and then tying that into some of the sound walls. So it becomes an asset to the community, both from the perspective of it provides better service because of its very nature, but also is something that you wouldn't mind living next to. And so we took care with those aesthetics. You can kind of, I think, see that starting to see that for the first time in some of these photographs, as all the components come together. Next, please. This is a temporary structural piece that we'll be using during the next phase of work after the bypass is complete. We call it the temporary tie-in. So it's just a temporary piece of work that we're constructing in the alley, and we'll later remove when the project is done. Next. And this is the Vautravers building, a historic building that is part of this project. When this, I'll get into more details later actually in the video, but you can see that this building was ultimately supported and then moved to the side so that we could straighten the tracks in this area and provide for better speed and comfort for our customers. Next. So the heavy civil portion of Lawrence Bryn Mawr, this is really what it looks like. There is a lot of heavy demolition equipment up there. We are removing existing bridge viaducts where the new bridges will go. We are doing that directly next to live service and maintaining the highest levels of safety in that effort. Next. So I talked a little bit about earth retainage and how when we're building on one side, we really need to keep the other side in place so we can run our trains on it. So these are the earth retention system that's being installed between the middle two of 4 tracks up there. Obviously, we're building on the side where the equipment is, and we're still providing service on the other side. These sheeting elements help us to keep the ground stable while we're doing this all this work and keep our passengers and employees safe. Next. So on the outreach side, we continue to do all the normal outreach that's associated with this to make sure the communities that are impacted by construction are informed. We work, with businesses throughout the area, but probably particularly in the Lawrence Bryn Mawr segment, where there are many retail businesses that have struggled mightily under COVID, to make sure any impacts that we have are mitigated either through our own means or coordinating services for them through the city and the aldermen. Examples include the weekly Red Purple Bypass Project updates down south at RPB in the 44th Ward, State of Edgewater event, really where the community was talking about impacts due to COVID, how they were going to come out of that and impact it. And we wanted to be at the table. We want to contribute both positively through our construction as well as our efforts to mitigate impacts of construction. Uptown United Chamber of Commerce walkthrough, just giving the chambers a sense of where the construction is and where it's going, as well as various other monthly outreach meetings we have through our virtual and existing neighborhood office. So with that summary, I will turn it over to Juan Pablo to get into some of the workforce SBDB efforts that we're doing on the project.
Thanks, Chris.
Yep.
Thanks, Chris. Good morning, directors. Juan Pablo Prieto, Director of Diversity Programs. Diversity continues to meet with the contractor monthly to discuss DVE and workforce outreach and compliance. We also continue to send out opportunities from wash floor to the DVE community so they're aware of the trade packages and how to submit their bids. On July 28th, the Chicago Cook Workforce Partnership, one of CTA's workforce partners on RPM, hosted a union trades informational event to walk non-card holders through the process of starting a career in the building trades. The virtual event was designed to provide individuals information about how to join the trades and network directly with representatives from the trade unions across the Chicagoland region. Representatives from IBEW Local 134, Pipe Fitters Local 597, Plumbers Local 130, and the Chicagoland Regional Council of Carpenters, among others, participated in the event. Over 100 individuals registered for the event, with close to 70 attending. As I presented last month, we will begin transitioning our RPM presentation from outreach to compliance as Walsh Floor completes their subcontracting awards. As of July 31st, DVEs have been awarded over $169 million between the design and construction packages. Additionally, those $169 million have been awarded to 68 unique DVE firms. This is a result of the outreach that has been conducted by CTA and the Prime to ensure the entire DVE community is aware of the opportunities on the project. That concludes my portion of the report. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Chris and Juan Pablo. Chairman Barkley, do you have any questions for either or both?
I do not have any questions.
All right. Director Alvarez.
No questions. Just keep up the great work. That's all.
Thank you. Director Jakes.
No questions, but it was uber cool how you moved that building.
You'll see more of that in a second.
Director Irvine.
No questions, and yeah, I agree. It's all very cool, and it's great to see the bypass coming along and getting closer.
Director Miller.
No question.
Director Silva.
No questions.
All right, then that concludes the questions for Juan Pablo and Chris, Chairman Barkley.
Our next order of business is new business. Greg, is there any new business?
Not that I'm aware of, sir.
Okay.
Actually, Chairman, we have a short video that we'd like to show the board.
All right, yeah, I'm sorry.
No problem. So before we start, actually Herb started it, so that's good. We can maybe loop it a couple of times. But this building was completed in 1894. It was originally owned by the Vautravers family, and it is part of the historic Newport Avenue district, which was a series of homes built between 1891 and 1928. The building originally sat in the pathway of the CTA, or before the parent company for the CTA, and the owner wasn't interested in moving, so the CTA tracks in this area were constructed around the building. The existing bend in the tracks limit train speeds through this corridor, and in fact, it was, as we looked at that significance of that bend and how much travel time it took, we realized that actually moving this building was a significant effort that needed to happen. So it definitely, in the end of the day, will increase train speeds through this area and improve the customer experience and comfort. So it is one of the many details that we handle in a large project like this, which is both to improve service, but also to respect the history of the city and work with that history to make sure we honor it and keep it alive. So with that, thank you all very much.
Thank you. I got all kind of calls from people asking me, did I go to the field trip to see the building move? And so, but you guys did a wonderful job in doing that work. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And I'd like to thank the Welsh Floor team. They did a fine job with this piece of work. The team that was managing this, as well as some other aspects of the project, are really doing good work, and we appreciate their hard efforts, especially during the pandemic.
Chris, was the building occupied?
No. No. No, it moved very smoothly. So conceivably it could have been occupied, but no, we bought the building, emptied it out, structurally stabilized it prior to actually putting the hydraulics in there and moving it.
I will say this. I don't know of any other media story that got more attention involving CTA than the movement of that building. It was literally on every news broadcast for like 3 days straight. So I'm glad it was a success, because I can't imagine what the coverage would have been if it had fallen.
Well, Dorval, it's funny you say that, because we were able to use all the social media attention we received from this building to increase our database of people in the community that are interested in the project and will now receive regular updates. So it was a real opportunity, and we kind of knew it was. And now we have a lot more people, particularly in the project area, who are going to be aware of all of the specifics that are happening throughout that area and impact. So it was a good move in that regard.
Congratulations. Great job. So our next order of business is new business. Greg, is there any?
No, I guess there's not. So I think we're finished for the day. That was a good day.
Since there's no further business to come before the board, may I have a motion to adjourn the Chicago Transit Board meeting for August 11, 2021?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Director Irvine, seconded by Director Rosales, the motion to adjourn. Director Silva.
Yes.
Director Miller. That's yes from Director Miller? Yes. Director Irvine.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Director Jakes.
Yes.
Director Rosales.
Yes.
Barclay.
Yes.
That's 6 votes in favor of adjourning. So, sir, we are adjourned. Thank you all very much.